And we are extremely excited about today. I'm not going to chase dollars. I'm going to chase purpose. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining and watching today's Ask HR segment. My name is Jennifer Bianca Gant. I am the CEO and founder of Career Image Solutions, your one-stop shop for all things hiring. Whether you are a working professional looking to elevate your career, or you are a company looking to make sure that you are hiring world-class talent to make sure that your environment becomes a world-class workplace, we are your team. All right, if you want more information about that, you want to check out career-image.com. Today, I wanted to go ahead and do this video for hiring professionals, even other HR professionals that might be writing policy, especially in this pandemic that we find ourselves in. Now, here's one of the things, as somebody who's been writing HR policy for over 10 years, one of the things that I've never experienced is a day in my life, right? We've always been taught to follow what the employment law says and what the governing body says to do. But as we know, this pandemic is due for just about every one of us that are living, okay? And I've seen some trends in the workplace that I wanted to talk about. And I'm hoping that the information I share with you all today will help guide you in how you develop your policy moving forward. Here's the bottom line. Bottom line is that we're in a pandemic. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows what to do from day to day. We have some historical knowledge now, but a year of historical knowledge, right? And there are lots of different things that have happened, continue to happen as we continue to learn more about the pandemic. Great thing is there have been vaccinations. We have different protocols. We know that masks now help, things of that nature. But what I want to caution us about is making sure that our policy that we write is guided by logical intentions. I know, I'm going somewhere with this. So I know that many of us take our guidance from CDC, and we use CDC as a basis to determine what our policies are, things of that nature. If we didn't know CDC before, we know those three acronyms now, don't we? Right? I want to encourage those of us that are utilizing CDC to write our policies. I just want to place a bit of caution. Okay, if you've been watching and seeing the regulations, you know that many of the mandates have now been rescinded in many states. Now, there are still some employers that are making the vaccination mandates and mask wearing mandates and testing mandates. They're like, hey, we don't care. We're still going to do it. But there are many big employers who have terminated employees based off of the legislation that was pending, and now finding themselves in a position where they have to rescind and say, oops, I'm sorry. Now that the government has decided, sorry, that's my government voice. Now that the government has decided to change their mind, or to make a decision or change their mind, we now are going to rescind. But what about the lives that have already been impacted, right? So again, I want to encourage those of us that are writing policy to make sure that the very first thing that nobody really teaches you about is to question your motive of writing the policy. Can you tell I'm burdened by that? Like, what is your motive of this policy, right? When we coach employers on their employee handbooks and things of that nature, and maybe some clients will say, oh, I want an attendance policy. I'll go back and say, well, why do you want an attendance policy? What type of culture is it that you're trying to create? What type of culture exists now where you want to put A through Z, 5 pages of an attendance policy? Now, I'm not saying that it's wrong, but we just need to make sure that our intention is going to match our intended impact. Okay? Because what will happen is that we from an employer branding perspective, if we don't really hone in on our intention, not only would we look flaky, but we know about the Great Resignation, and we know that this is an applicant market right now. So if your desire is to retain top talent, your policy is one of the sure ways that you can either ensure that you attract top talent or you push them away, because your policy has everything to do with your company culture. A lot of companies don't recognize that. Policy has everything to do with your company culture. In fact, we coach career professionals on, hey, you really want to know about the company culture? Ask to see their employee handbook before you say yes. Even the way that an employee handbook is written will tell you a lot. If it's a structural, if it's flexible, if you say they don't have one, that speaks volumes too, right? And again, none of it is wrong. But again, when you are writing policy, if you are a hiring professional, if you are a CEO, if you are an HR professional, maybe you're not the founder of the company, maybe you're taking direction from others, I encourage you to be the leader at the table, to come up with solutions versus just taking direction. Because as we've seen over the course of this pandemic, even the government officials that provide us with information, they also change their mind many times. When we first got started with the pandemic, we were told you didn't need to wear masks, right? And then masks were made mandatory. And then there were governing authorities that were saying you must wear a mask. Then there were others like, hey, you have to wear a mask here, but you don't have to wear a mask here. And again, companies, hiring officials, HR professionals were like, where do I take my direction? What do I do? Even the attorneys that I've been speaking with are like, listen, we're just waiting to see what's going to happen. We don't know what to do either, but this is the best practice. But the best practice doesn't mean that it's legal, because it might change. So I'm saying all of this to say that you have to know the philosophy of your company before you begin to write policies. If you are not certain about who you are, then you will take direction from other bodies, from other entities that don't line up with your company, right? So when you are writing HR policies that are COVID related, my thoughts and advice has been, even before this just came out, that Supreme Court is like, we're not going to say that it's mandated. Vaccinations is mandated. We're not going to mandate this. But again, we know that some employers are still doing that, which everybody has the right to do so. I don't feel like it's any right or wrong. But again, you want to be mindful when you put things in policy. In writing, it's not that you can't change your mind, but you want to be mindful of your employer branding and how that impacts your workplace culture. Okay, that's what I want to say to you. For example, if your goal is to, these are some things to consider. If your goal is to ensure the safety of your staff, because you have plenty of staff that come into an office, is closed, and so on and so forth, then you want to make sure that you have safety protocol in your policy. One of the things that I've seen that has been a total miss for some companies is that they've taken so much energy putting it on the vaccination policy, which is great because it protects the individual, but it does not affect or it positively impact the safety of the staff. So again, if your intention is, hey, I want to make sure that all of my staff, that they are safe themselves, that they won't be negatively impacted if they get COVID because I'm concerned about their well-being, then a vaccination policy is the way to go. But if your intention is that you don't want there to be a spread of the virus, the vaccination policy is not going to serve you in that capacity. What would serve you better in that capacity is for you to ensure that you're spending some intentional efforts in writing policy about social distancing, about writing policy about your new hybrid, remote working environments, telework agreements, revising those policies. Policies like, hey, we're going to be putting new cubicle walls so everybody can have their own personal space. Those are, if your intention is about the safety of everyone, maybe massive spread. Again, I've seen that as a big miss for some companies. They're paying attention to the vaccination policy, which is good. However, you're missing the mark if you don't pay attention to the other safety protocol. If you don't have somebody coming in and cleaning your office, you bring people back to work and you're bringing them into the same space, and then you don't have anybody cleaning in the midst of a pandemic. There is a mixed message here. We want you to get vaccinated, but we're not going to do any deep cleaning. We're not going to disinfect or we're not going to disinfect the environment once everybody is here. There's a mixed message in there, right? So again, I want to encourage you that if you're going to take direction from a governing body, make sure you question your intent. Make sure that your intent matches your impact, especially as it relates to your HR policy. If you need any support on this whatsoever, not only would I be more than willing to help, but we have a team of HR consultants literally waiting for you to go ahead and ask them as many questions as possible. We have been in the thick of this since the pandemic and helping to write policies for organizations across the nation. So we will be more than happy to help you with that as well. I hope that this was helpful. If you are watching this on any social media platform for whatever reason, feel free to comment below. Let us know your thoughts. Hey, pick our brain. Do you disagree with anything that I said? Do you agree? Hey, we welcome multiple thoughts, multiple lenses and views. If this is something that you found interesting, go ahead, make sure you subscribe or send us a message. Give us some kudos. You want to learn more about our services? Again, you can go to career-image.com or email us directly at services@career-image.com. I look forward to speaking with you. And until next time, don't forget to command your day.